Welcome you all to another EdTech Tuesdays with ATMs and friends. And today we're going to take flight with drones. You're here, so you have an opportunity. You also have an opportunity to share that section number with colleagues who may want to join you as well. My name is Pernell Allen. I'm the Alabama Technology and Motion Specialist located at the University of Alabama at Birmingham. UAB, go Blazers. That's my contact information if you need to get in contact with me. Either one of the emails will suffice, as well as that's my X handle at UAB_ATM. If you like this session or any session provided by ATM, use hashtag ATMPD on any social media platform. Those other universities to the left or where other ATM specialists and regional in-service centers are located across the state. Region 5, search the following LEAs. That's Alabama Aerospace and Aviation, Bessemer, Birmingham, Empower Community, Freedom Academy, Fairfield, I3 Academy, Jefferson County, Leeds, Legacy Prep, Magic City Acceptance Academy, Midfield, Tarrant, and Trustfield City Schools. Today, once again, February 11th, is Take Flight with Drones in the Classroom. We only have 3 sessions left after today, so if you would like, please join us for those sessions as well. If you haven't had a chance to listen to Tim Talks, it's a podcast hosted by my colleague Angela Clark and I. And what we try to do is bring awareness not just to ATM, but as well as other initiatives across the state, how we can be a benefit to you and your school or your district. The latest episodes include episode 11 with Steve Blair, who's the Access Administrator, and Tambra Clark, who's an innovative library media specialist in Birmingham City Schools. Please, once again, you get that opportunity, check us out. You can listen to us on Spotify, Amazon Podcasts, and Apple Podcasts. Right here, please consider joining us for AETC. This is our annual EdTech conference hosted in Mobile, Alabama, June 16th through the 20th. On this particular one, topics range from DLCS integration, AI, best practices, assistive technology, and Power School. This year's theme is building digital bridges. We would love to see you there. And at this time, the reason that you're here is EdTech Tuesdays with ATMs and Friends, hosted by my colleague and drone guru, Dr. Robert Maven. At this time, Robert, I'm going to stop sharing and turn it over to you.
Thank you, Pernell. This is my wheelhouse session. So the funny thing about it is I haven't presented it in a while. Are we good on my screen here?
Yes, I can see it.
Good deal. I don't need to do that. Let me click the slideshow. There we go. All right, let me jump on back to the beginning of it, though. I haven't done drones in a while, though. Basically, since the fall. I did several trainings back in the fall when you asked me, you sent out the invitation for us to put one in. And I've been doing these quite a bit over the past. We were talking before the session that drone soccer really took off in 22. And so, but I was doing the drones before then. So I got roped into it. And I wouldn't say roped into it. I got brought into it because of my already doing work with drones even before the pandemic, about the time that the digital literacy and computer science course of study came along. So this is my website there. If you will see uatm.org/takeflight. The very first link on that page will be these slides. This is an updated version of what I did at the SCORE CERC Southeastern Robotics Conference back in the fall, without, of course, the fact you being able to fly the drones at the end. And that's there are some drone simulators. If you're interested in those, you can email me. I don't really talk about those in this session, but you could fly them that way. I do have some video of some drones flying. So not to make it to where we didn't see a drone fly in this session. So this is me, as Pernell has already introduced me. I am Technology and Motion Specialist at the UWA Regional In-Service Center, and I love the way that Pernell rolls off all the systems that he serves. I can't do that. I've been doing this for 21 years. I could tell you all 13 of them, but I would not sound as cool as Pernell doing that. But I serve 9 counties and 13 school systems in the Region 4 is my region. So that's me. Always have to put the disclaimer up here. This is for demo and educational purposes only. Make sure you use your LEA's policy for tools and products that I share here. I don't necessarily warrant, endorse, guarantee, or assume responsibility, accuracy, reliability of any information shared in this presentation. As a matter of fact, there are so many drone companies coming around now. There's probably some you've heard of that I haven't heard of. I have a set few that I work with or I support because those are the ones I know the teachers in my area have, and some of them around the state. I do venture out into some of the other areas as well to support certain drone programs. But the views and opinions expressed in the content are my own. There we go. So I got 6 topics here. Can I get them all in an hour? I don't know, but we will try. I'm not going to tell you what they are right now because I'll just go straight into them. Some considerations before you fly. There's a lot of things to consider before you fly a drone or start a drone program at your school. And as I was double checking to make sure I had not missed any regulations and rule updates today before I presented, I stumbled upon this link. And this is one of the best links that I've found on the FAA website as far as flying a drone. And it may be fairly new because I was looking at some of the videos. They released some videos in response to all of the ones in New Jersey, all the drones that came around in New Jersey. The FAA released some videos about that and just to help people with general drone use. And I'm going to click on that link and take you out to that page because, yeah, it's just from a couple of weeks ago or about a month ago. This is what to know about drones. This is a wonderful resource for you. After today, you're like, well, I want to fly drones, but I really want to get acclimated to it before I do anything with a school. And I love this right here, such as who can fly a drone, some rules that you have to follow, like it has to be below 400 feet. There is a basic safety knowledge test. They call it the trust test, that to be a recreational flyer, you need to pass that test. If somebody from the FAA law enforcement asks, do you have your certificate or your license? You can say, I'm flying as a recreational flyer, and I have my certificate for passing that safety knowledge test. I highly recommend also, if you are going to do any type of drones with students, that you have those students pass that test too. And you could do it as a group, present the slides and talk about it, and do it as a presentation, as a whole lesson. Then they could go take the quiz. But it does run like, say, when you're doing compliance training at your schools. We do it at the university where it's like a module and you read some and you got to answer some questions and you go to the next module. So it's like that, but not too bad. Now, if you're really getting into this and you're going to get paid to video or anything, it even mentions that news gathering, you're supposed to have your drone pilot's license, and it's called a Part 107, and we'll talk about that as we go along. But notice it says where you can't fly a drone, where can you fly a drone, when can you fly a drone. One of my favorite ones that I like to bring out, and I get this question asked a good bit. Look at the third from the last one. Does the FAA look into reports of drone sightings? I guess that came in response to the New Jersey drones. But what happens if a drone is over your house? I get asked this question a good bit, and it says pilots must operate drones so they don't pose a hazard. The FAA does not regulate privacy, but your local law enforcement may be able to enforce that if it's violating any privacy laws. But then the next one, I actually have had this question asked a few times. Can you shoot down drones above your property? No, you can't shoot down shoot at any aircraft. So you can see what it even talks about charges, criminal charges. So that's pretty good. And then these videos down here are really good too. I actually made time to watch them and save them to use at a later time. So this is a really nice resource that I'm just now having. I probably should have built something like this myself earlier, but that's something to think about before you fly. Let's jump into the educational part of this. So some considerations. You need to consider your purpose, and you need to consider the location. So you want to start and fly drones at your school. You got to have what's my purpose and where am I doing this? And that's really going to dictate what kind of drone you purchase, what kind of curriculum you purchase, what kind of training you might need. You got to know that. before you can really get going. And if you see, I have right here inside or outside, and that's what we're going to look at our purpose first, because that almost draws both of these. You can look at the same time, but inside or outside is going to play a big role in this. Outside. Okay. And I was in a STEM classroom today, and they had some drones, and they were probably small enough to be flown inside, but they had a remote. They were not programmable. Really nice looking drones. I wasn't familiar with the brand, but they were really nice. And you would probably want to fly them outside. But anytime you fly a drone outside with students, if you're teaching students, if you're having students fly them, there are regulations that apply. Okay. Such as the drone, if the drone weighs more than about a half a pound, it's got to be registered. Also, if the drone is registered, weighs that much, you've got to have remote ID on it. And most of the drones that you purchase, I can't really say that, because some of the DJI minis that are still around, some of them have to be registered and some don't. But most of the ones, if it has to be registered now, it's going to come with remote ID. And there was a big uproar in the drone community about that. And it's basically so they'll know, the FAA can at any time know where you are. So you're actually broadcasting, this is my drone. This is my drone. It doesn't say that, but it's sending out something. It's very similar to what you would see on any aircraft, but that is a thing that has to be done. So if you go out and buy this really nice drone for your journalism program or your sports program, and it weighs more than a half a pound, you're going to have to register it, and you're going to have to make sure it has remote ID. And if it doesn't come with remote ID, most of the companies that you can purchase drones from have an add-on that you can purchase to put on it to broadcast that remote ID. And that freaks a lot of people out. And that's okay, because there are a lot of really good drones now that are excellent for videography and things that don't weigh 0.55 pounds. Now, obviously, your video is going to be better if your drone is a little heavier and more stable, but you still can get away with some really good video content with the DJI minis. There are some lesser known brands like Potensic that you can get on Amazon that have some pretty good video quality and still aren't heavy enough to be registered. So even if you don't have to register them and you fly them, you do need to pass that safety test though, and have that certificate. So now I'm going to go to focus next, and that's the focus of your drone outside is usually for a CTE type program. Like I mentioned, journalism, learning drones, drone license. There are a lot of STEM and robotics programs that want to fly drones. And if you're a CTE teacher in here, drone pilot's license is known as Part 107. And if you go through and look at the career readiness indicators in CTE, Part 107 is in everything from agriculture to law enforcement to audiovisual technologies, then transportation and aviation itself. There's so many different things. Did I mention first responders? Oh my goodness, there's so many, that Part 107 is just loaded through our CTE programs. And the cool part about that is a lot of the drone companies that you see have that built into their curriculum, whether it's drone soccer, drone racing with a company like Rocket Drones or Drone Legends. They have the ability to, your students can, if you purchase their product, you can purchase the curriculum that would get your students that Part 107 license. Now, the exemption, the one where it says exemption, the thing that you would need to know is up until May of this past year, and it'll be on the next slide, but up until May of this past year, if you were a teacher and you took your drone outside and you weren't a member of a community-based organization, or didn't have your Part 107 and you were on the clock when you did it and you were teaching students, you were actually in violation. But that is no longer the case. If you are an educator, K-12, higher ed, and you are using the drones to educate, you actually fly under an educator exemption. It basically means you're flying recreationally, but you do have to be flying it as a part of a class and teaching and that type of thing. Not sure how you pull that off at football games, but that's another discussion altogether. I guess if you were instructing and it was part of one of the school organizations, I'm not 100% sure, but we'll see. I'm going to go to the next slide, though. Let me talk about inside first. So inside, you're like, hey, I'm flying outside. I don't want to listen to inside, so that's okay. Inside, this is where most of what I do, and Purnell probably does this, and if you're an ATM specialist, I would say 99.9% of the technology trainings we've done with drones have been with inside drones. This is what we know, okay? Some of the drones, like drone soccer and rocket drones, are built to be flown inside, but you can get the training to be certified to fly outside. But most everything we do is inside. I have done some outside training way before the pandemic with some nice drones, but that was a long time ago. But when you're flying inside, you don't have any rules outside of common sense and school safety, drone safety. Don't fly over people, don't fly into people's faces. You probably need to wear eye protection, that type of stuff. But you don't have any rules that pertain to, hey, I'm not breaking the law. Okay? Your drone in that particular case is going to be a smaller drone designed for educational purposes. The best way. I really don't know about the ones that I saw today in the STEM lab. I think you probably could fly them in the gym, but you don't want to fly your nice $1,000 DJI Mavic Air, whatever number. You don't want to fly that in the gym. Okay? You could, but you're just asking for it because it could get all thrown off without being able to see satellites and things. So yeah, be careful with flying a nice drone inside. Safety, you got to pass the drone trust test. Even though you're flying inside, it's not a requirement, but it is a suggestion. And it's just a good thing because what's going to happen is your kids are going to fly these drones inside. You're going to go home and mom and dad or grandma or grandpa are going to buy them a drone. And they're going to take it down to the local park, and they need to be safe when they do that. So do that as a lesson. Okay. But the focus here, you got STEM activities. You've got computer science. You've got cross-curricular aviation, so much more if you're teaching it inside. And like I said, most of what Purnell and I would do would be inside. Purnell, have you done any outside drone trainings?
All of mine have been inside, Robert.
That's what I was thinking. I really don't know. Tim might have, but I don't know if anybody else would have. Maybe Steven. I'm not 100% sure. So I got to work. The very first drone I ever flew was for a school, and we were testing out a big, nice DJI Phantom 3 with a 4K camera on it. It was very interesting, and most of the kids came out there to see it, and here comes the principal, and here comes the superintendent. And fortunately, I didn't crash it. Crashed the very next one I flew, though, but it wasn't as nice. Okay, so some regulations to think about before I get into curriculum and things and how we're doing on time. Okay, cool. I got plenty of time. All right, some somewhat new rules. And I mentioned this earlier. In May 2024, the education exemption was expanded to all K-12 educators, not just higher ed. At one point in time, it was higher ed and JROTC had the education exemption, but they expanded it. And here's the actual reauthorization act that they put up. As you can see, 2018, they said, hey, you can't fly these. This is not part of elementary and high school, but now they do have it. I do have the link to the actual law right there. And I'll show you. I do want to give some props to a drone professional friend of mine, Dr. Sumter. I think she's based out of Georgia. She actually wrote this up because we were in a Facebook group talking about this, and this is a good little article to read about it. She put it out there, but she actually has some drone curriculum and things as well that she started selling. So I would, if you want to look into that, I need to add that to one of my pages toward the end, so I can give you can see what she's doing as well. But we got to talking about it in that Facebook group and started chatting about it. So I quoted her article there, and she didn't know about it either, and she contacted some FAA people, and yeah, this is what it's like. So, but there's the link to the actual law, and it's law ease. What is that? I don't know. I speak English. I was an English teacher before I became a technology teacher, so I don't speak techese. I do a little bit, but that's the actual law. Legalese. There we go. There was the word I was looking for. All right. So, but I will say that it is still recommended that you have a license or is being here, that you charter a club with a community-based organization. The one that I'm most familiar with is the Academy of Model Aeronautics. And I think I mentioned them. They've got a link later on in here. But the benefits to that include insurance. Most of the ones that you would join have some kind of curriculum as well about safety, at least. So like if you charter the club, you as the teacher, I think it's about $75 for the teacher to charter the club. The teacher would get insurance and some other things that go along with it. And then I think it would give I think it let the kids join for free. I do think there's a small fee to that now. I haven't looked at it recently to make sure, but it may be that the teacher costs $75 and then the students it's like maybe 15, somewhere between 15 and 35 or something, but it may not even be that. So we could look at that and see. But I highly recommend that if you're flying outside, okay, is to be a part of that club. Make it a club, a community-based organization. A few other regulations. I do link to the AMA there. Good. There is a link to the drone trust test. That actually stands for, click on it. Recreational UAS safety test, trust. And here's all the places you can go. I took mine through Academy of Model Aeronautics. I had both of my kids have done it through Academy of Model Aeronautics as well. But you see the Boy Scouts have it, Highland Institute, University of Arizona Global Campus. Oh, that's cool. Didn't realize they had one. So you can see all of these that you can go in and get approved and get your certificate. So it's not real hard and it's a good learning. You'll learn some things. Even if a whole lot about drones, you'd probably still eat something. Every time I go through it with students, I pick up something else that I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. Now, the other cool thing is if you form your own community-based organization, you join one, you get to form your own FAA-recognized identification areas. So you actually could get an area around your school that you could fly without remote ID. So you could fly your big, nice drones if you're training your students to how to fly drones and how to do videos or how to do pictures or just flying properly. If you fly in that designated area that you can work with your community-based organization to set up, you don't have to have remote ID and you can fly any drone you wanted to. So it's really nice that you can do that. So, and then I do want to mention, here is the AMA. This is their flight school. And here's the Model Aviation Student Club. And you can see, okay, there it is. It is $15 per year to join. I'm not sure about what you get as the teacher part of it is probably right here. I do know when my wife joined a long time ago with her journalism class, I think it was $75. But the kids didn't have to pay then. So it's been updated since then. Here's the chartering guide. You can go learn about that if you're interested in founding a club. I did have a question recently, and that's what I told them. The benefits of having that probably outweigh the risks. Okay, now, is your AA going to cover it? I don't know. Or is the insurance that your school has? I don't know. I just know you're covered if you have that right there. Okay, so drones. I've got all the regulations out to me about half of the time to scare you. My wife always says that's the scary part of the workshop. Like I make people not want to fly drones. I hope I've tweaked it to where you realize it's not hard to do it now. Okay. The elephant in the room though. This is what everybody comes to my workshops to know. Which drone should I use? Now, don't forget it's all about your purpose. What am I going to do with this drone? Also, your system protocols. Some places you can't buy from certain vendors, and They got to be, you've got different rules about purchasing and things. And there are several drone companies, I think, that have gotten on the state list. I do know that, what's it called, an RFP or something like that. I do know Rocket Drones just got on it. I don't know about other ones, but I do know there are several others. And then you have places like places like Maker Maven with like David Burrow, who works with the Burrow Library Services. I think he's part of Maker Maven, and Maker Maven is a conglomerate of multiple companies that you can purchase through. So I don't know what the formal title of that is, but don't forget your purpose though. Before you go buy one, know what you're buying it for. All right. Now, are you buying it to code? Was Authentic CS your purpose? I'm actually watching CS in action. It's like a robot. Was that your purpose? Well, there's certain ones that are good for that. Is just flying your purpose, or is coding and flying your purpose? Okay. If it's flying, if you just want to teach your kids how to fly, you could go get a disposable one and order a class set from Amazon of some disposable ones and have them flying. Just know the tiny ones, they fly much better inside. You get them outside in the wind, it can be an adventure. You might watch them flying through the neighborhood and somebody will find it in their pool 3 blocks down. So let's see. I got a question in the chat. Okay. Your system requires you to use CodeDrone EDU. CodeDrone EDU is a fantastic drone. The only drawback I see, well, there's 2 drawbacks to it. One, and as a matter of fact, if you're teaching coding, it's about the only one out there. There's a couple of more, but it is about the only one out there that really makes it easy to do. You can do both block and text-based coding with. It's a fantastic drone. I have a couple of sets of them that I used to teach my drone workshops with. The drawback is they don't have a camera. I'm hoping they make one eventually. They don't have a camera, and you can't use them with like iPads or Android tablets. You have to have a Chromebook or a laptop that's a PC or a Mac, a desktop. It's got to have a USB connection in a full desktop mode. We even tried it with some iPad Pros to see if we could trick it into letting us use them, and we could not. So unless they've changed something since about October, you can't use them with you. So if you're an iPad system, sorry. Yeah, no change. Okay, thank you. You really can't use them. But the great thing about the CodeDrone EDU is you can code them and fly them. They come with a remote, and the remote is actually what you code. It sends the code to the remote, and the remote sends the code to the drone. So that's pretty cool. Now, coding, there's other cool ones out there. If you like text-based coding, Furia Labs has a fantastic drone with curriculum for coding. It is. If you're familiar with Furia Labs, they're all about Python. And so you're programming it with text-based code. And it's a really cool drone. And David and Jerry did a good job getting that drone out for those of you that really are into that kind of thing. And they're a local Alabama company. So that's all about coding there. If you're interested in venturing into their area. So coding and flying, those are the 2 predominant things that I see. Now, STEM is a big deal. And usually I see these in STEM classrooms, and STEM teachers that are asking me about drones. And there are some curricula out there. Most of the time it comes with the drone, but then there are, and I'm going to go over some of the curriculum providers in just a second, but integration into the curriculum, there is a good bit of attempts at it. I haven't seen one that's perfect, but there are curriculum providers that have things that you can do cross-curricular. Most of the time, it's about the coding, it's about the flying, it's about the STEM element of it. But there are some that are going to bring it into your language arts classroom or I can do it with math really easy. I've built my own things for math, but science, because you can get into some of the physics of it. And then CTE, once again, credentials and that type of thing. So that makes a difference in what drone you're buying. And then if you want to get into competitions, drone soccer is a competition. There are 3 drone soccer companies out there. I've worked with 2 of them. I have example drones from both of the drone soccer companies, and that's a competition. It is you're not going to take your nice DJI Mavic out there and compete in a drone soccer competition. It is a very proprietary drone that you're using there. Drone racing. Drone Legends has it. My friends at Rocket Drones have it. And most of these competition things, the drone soccer, drone racing, it's to help build pilots. They all have a Part 107 component to their curriculum. Usually it's an add-on, but you can get that. And then there's aerial drone competition. Aerial drone competition is with the Co-Drone EDU, and it's governed by the same body that governs the VEX robotics competition. So they have a set way that you do things, just like VEX robotic competitions do. And that's the REC, the Robotics and Education Competition. I think that's what it means. Foundation. That's what something like that. All right. So moving along. So some drone companies, once again, we're considering our purpose. But if you're looking at coding, I've got a few listed there. I've recently seen the Light Bee. I think that's the one that Dr. Sumter does for her curriculum, but Fury Labs has theirs. For the Wind Robotics, some of y'all may have heard of them. They have resurrected, for lack of a better word, the old Parrot Mambos, which were the drone that really started drones in the classroom. A lot of people moved over to the DJI Tello, but they discontinued it. And so For the Wind, and they have a curriculum as well. Pretty good stuff there. And then if you're just flying, there's DJI is the walking dog. I'm not necessarily promoting them. I'm just stating the facts. DJI, there's been a lot of talk in the Senate whether they were going to be banned, and that's still up in the air as to how all that's going to work. They were looking at banning drones, not just from China, but from Russia and several other places. So there's a lot of politics that I'm not going to get into, but DJI is what you're going to see in most professional fields of drone flying. There are some random Amazon drones. I mentioned Potensic earlier. There's another company called Holy Stone, and it seems like every other time somebody comes and asks me about a problem with their drone, it's some name I've never heard of or Holy Stone. And it's not that it's a problem with the drone, is they don't realize it has headless mode. And a lot of people ask me, what is headless mode? That is where there's whatever direction you tell the remote to go, that's the way the drone's going, no matter which way it's facing, rather than it being calibrated to fly forward and backwards and that kind of thing. Rocket Drones is flying. They have a classroom drone. They also have their regular FPV drone racing kits, but their classroom drone is built to be flown in the classroom, doesn't go as fast, and they have a curriculum that goes with that. And speaking of that, there's a good chance that I'm going to partner with them to offer a Teams training on drones. We're looking to try to turn that into math and science, maybe two separate things. So we're hoping to get that launched by the summer. And then STEM, the Co-Drone products, the Co-Drone EDU, there's a thing called the Crazy Fly. Rocket Drones has their program. And then all of the coding ones are pretty much in that general thing. The CTE things, you have the DJI ones that are fancy. There's another company called Light Bee, and they actually have swarming drones. I do have a system that got those. I'm still trying to figure them out for them. They're pretty complicated, but it may just be the way that I think. They're not as linear as regular programming. It's more like programming in CAD. So if you're interested in swarming drones, you can look at Light Bee's site. I think Stemfinity may be the vendor that sells those. And then competitions, Rocket Drones, US Drone Soccer, Crew Concept Drone Soccer, Co-Drone EDU. And there are some other ones that I just found today that I added to one of the slides. So those are some of the drone companies. Think about your purpose. I don't mind if you send me an email saying this is what I like to do. I'll send you some resources as to which one might work best for you. And so don't hesitate to email me. My email is all over this slideshow. So you can get it there, or you can contact Pernell. So the curriculum that goes along with these. So drones in the curriculum, you can use them to teach coding and CS. I've gone over this several times. You're teaching drones for the sake of flying drones, CTE, STEM, other subjects. Use drones for competition, but don't forget your purpose. Okay, these are what you normally see drones for. Okay, I've lumped them into this. I guess if you were talking about qualitative research, these are my themes. So if you think of others that you're using it for, that's love for you to share that in the chat. All right. So there are so many curriculum providers out there. Most of the time, the curriculum is bundled with a drone, so it matches with the drone. We're on the bleeding edge right now. There's some out there. I appreciate you guys. Let's see, how many people do we have? We have 50 people in here today wanting to get drone programs started. You're on the bleeding edge of this. We're going to fail. Was talking about 3D printing today. One of the things to be prepared for when you're doing 3D printing is failure. And you're going to crash your drone, and you're going to buy a drone and it's not going to do what you want it to do. And it's going to be a little more complicated than you want it to be, but it's coming, that it's going to be a little easier for you to deal with. Several companies are still working, and we've grown. As you see, one of the bullet points says new ones are appearing frequently. There are a lot of, and I'll talk about each one of these in brief for a second. There are a lot of Part 107 providers that are separate from drones themselves. So let's say, well, my school bought me all these drones, but I don't have anything to teach with them. There are a lot of Part 107 providers out there. There's like Drone Launch Academy. There's Ground School. That's the one that I got an educator discount through to do my Part 107. I had to put that on hold. The time I had designated it was interfered with last spring with a family event. So I didn't really get to go through it, and I haven't slowed down enough to do it. But I'm going to get to it. And I was using Ground School. But Drone Legends, they have curriculum that goes K-12, and it's broken into different things. They've got some reading activities and things for like your primary, and then you get up like 4 through 8, and they have STEM activities, and then they have FPV drones at the end. And I've linked each one of these. SheMaps is an Australian company. They have drones. They basically build their curriculum around Australian standards, and they used to use the DJI Tello, but their lessons, you can subscribe to them digitally. I think I let mine run out. I need to re-up it before I start teaching these again, but you can get their lessons digitally, and you can bring them over and figure out which ones they match up with in our particular course of study, not just Australia. So Rocket Drones, they have a curriculum that goes along with both their FPV drones, which those are the drones. If you don't know what FPV, that's a racing drone. That's the ones on TV where they're wearing goggles and your drone is first person. You're flying it like you are the drone and you see it with your eyes. Pretty cool. You're wearing like VR goggle type things. RoboLink, that's the Co-Drone EDU. They have a curriculum. Several of these curriculum providers, their curriculum is about flying the drone, but there are some. Rocket Drones has some cross-curricular things into science and math. RoboLink has built some. Crew Concept and Drone Soccer have some built in as well. The new one that I mentioned earlier is Drones in School. And I saw this, and I don't know why I didn't add it, but this one looks cool too. I don't know anything about this company, but they have bonus simulator races. See, it looks like they've got drone racing and things as well. So I want to look at this company a little bit more. It looks like there's nobody. Oh, wait, hold on. Is that somebody in Alabama? Nope. There's nobody in Alabama, but look down the Panhandle. Wow, there's a lot of schools doing this one down in the Panhandle. So I'm going to check this out and see what it looks like. But they do have a curriculum. I was looking at it. Let's see here. There's their curriculum. And it looks like for the drone that you purchase from them, you have a curriculum that goes along with it. And I think if you purchase the drone, you get the curriculum from what I read earlier today. I thought that was pretty cool. So you can check that out and find that. But remember your purpose. Notice For the Win Robotics, they have a curriculum. They have a coding curriculum. Drone Blocks is really nice. They also have a coding curriculum, but they have it cross-curricular. To me, Drone Blocks had some really nice math and science integration that they have, but you got to have a programmable drone, okay? Like if you've got DJI Tellos still floating around, this is still a fantastic drone. If you've got DJI Tellos, that's the one. Drone Blocks, their curriculum does work. It was built for the Tello. So that would be the one I would look at. And you can purchase the curriculum and be able to access it and share it with your kids. There's probably site license and things like that. Furia Labs, if you're, once again, that's text-based coding. and you can program their brand new drone. And they have it's like a module-based curriculum, and it's primarily about the programming of it, but it's still, they're going to talk about some of the aviation terms and things as you go through it. The key, though, is to find or design your own, and that's going to be on the next slide, a curriculum that fits your purpose. Okay. So curriculum ideas that are different. Drones are basically flying robots. Consider some of the activities that you do with your robots and modify them. And people are like, well, how does that work? I want to show you one. A lot of people freak out when I tell them, my robots, if I do it on the ground, I'm going to tear my drone up. And there are actually some competitions. I think there's something in like the TSA. Is it TSA, the Technology Student Association? They have something where they use a drone and a robot together. And I need to add that. I forgot about that. I just recently watched a video on it. But look at this. I'll just show you. This is my friend Jeff Gray. Some of you may have heard his name. He is a computer science professor, amongst other things, at the University of Alabama. He has these robotics competitions, and I don't think he hadn't launched 2025. I guess he's doing it 2025, but I haven't seen anything about it. But this, let's just look and see real quick. No, I don't want to click on the main computer science page. Let me go about. They don't have 2025 up yet. Okay. But these are his old competition activities. And I'm going to go to one specifically, 2019. And this is 2019. And here are his official contest problems. 2019 was one my son participated in with the Lego Mindstorm. And so I know what it was. Okay, wind sprints. Okay, so it's the same thing as down and backs. Program your drone to fly down and fly back. Fly down and fly back. And if they read, you have people that mark, my drone flew to that part and came back. That's just an easy thing that you can do. So look at some of these. This 3-point shot, maybe have it to where they have to start at a certain spot and program their drone, or fly their drone through like a hula hoop. And that's a goal. And then they have to fly back to a certain spot and land and then take off again and fly it back. And that's a goal. So you can build your own curriculum. This is a fast break. Have different spots where the drone has to fly before it gets to the other end. Those are things you're learning, whether you're programming it or flying it freely. You're learning skills that are both autonomous and driving or flying in this case. So don't forget about your robotics, things that you do with robots. Data collection ideas. All of my math thing, we measure how close they can land to the target. We measure how long, we can measure how long it takes to fly from point A to point B, those types of things. You can do all kinds of data collection that way. A lot of drones have sensors, and you could say, can you program your drone for when it flies, it will land on green the first time it sees green. Those are the types of things you can do. Job-like tasks. Let's say you're doing it outside. Your job-like task, maybe put some different objects out on your football field and see how many they can identify as they fly over the football field. So things like that, recording practices, or take pictures of. Hey, when you're flying a drone outside, you're supposed to stay in line of sight. And there's some other things with having a license. It's a little different. But if you're a recreational flyer, you got to always be able to see it. And you've always got to have an observer. So there's always two people when you fly a drone. It's supposed to be two, somebody to see it. So your observer and the pilot. And things like that, where the observer can tell the pilot which way to fly and that kind of stuff. You can do all kinds of cool things like that. And then create your own, or consider building your own. Add an engineering component to it. Have them build their own courses, whether it be through PVC pipe, pool noodles, hula hoops. You can buy a field through aero drone competitions. They have them very similar to how the VEX programs work. Have them 3D print things that go along with it. If you see me up here twirling hula hoops, my Bitmoji up here twirling hula hoops, that's my wakelet. I tend to, when I find obstacle ideas, not sure why robot or human is in there. I'm very interested in seeing why that one's there. Sorry, I'm peeking my. Okay, so I bet it was something that, I'll just go ahead and delete that out. I bet it was something with some sort of game. But these talk about different ways you can build drone obstacles. I got several different sites and ideas that you can do. That was the very first one I ever built right there. I didn't put the Cleveland Indians on it, but we made it. It's a wiffle ball strike zone, and we made it out of PVC. And I lost parts of it. I'm sad. My son and I made that together, so I need to find it, or we need to make another one, or 3 or 4. So obstacle ideas there, just to give your kids the whole engineering. Hey, design. One team designs the obstacle course, the other team has to fly through it. That type of thing. So those are the things that you can do. Now, what are the steps? This is the quick part because we're coming up on the end of it. Just to remind you about starting your program. What's your purpose? What do you need? Did somebody just give you some drones? Okay. All right. Figure out what your drones are, or which drones you want to buy that fulfill that purpose. Or once again, if you just have some, do the research. Look at the different curriculum options. Okay. Email me, email Pernell. We can help you find some things, or your other ATEM specialists around the state. All of us, sometimes they email me, and Pernell and I will chat about this sometime. And Dr. Walker at ASU and I and Tim down at South Alabama, we chat about these things at our meetings some. So we can recommend some things for you or point you in the right direction. Let the students learn and fly. This is a great opportunity for kids. The opportunity for drone pilots grows every day. There are stats that you can find. Most of the time, it's in the curriculum of each one of these providers talking about you could get your Part 107, and if you got a job, you can, even in high school, if it could work enough, you could make a ton of money just flying drones if you're in the right place. Everything from deliveries to photography. But my friends at Rocket Drones are actual drone professionals. They have their own drone companies, and they were realizing that there weren't enough qualified drone pilots out there. And so that's why they formed this. One of them is based out of Memphis and the other is based out of Pensacola. So they're fairly local as well. And they formed this company to get more pilots trained, because even just their local companies have a hard time. So think about the big companies like Amazon or some of the law enforcement people. They have to have the training. When you go to purchase them, follow your protocols. And don't forget, when you are purchasing, don't forget professional development for it. Some of them throw it in. It's part of the package. And don't forget extra materials such as batteries, extra blades, extra things to store them in, chargers, cords. Those are the types of things you're going to need. You may need extra, thank you, Pernell, extra hubs, extra frames. Those are the types of things you're going to need as you build, especially if you're doing racing and competitions. You'll need those extra motors, especially even with the Co-Drone EDU, you have motors go bad every now and then from getting carpet fibers or hair or something in them. So those are your 4 steps there. Find your purpose, research what you want it to do, purchase them, and let the kids take flight. So just to show you a couple of things, if you're wondering, what in the world is he talking about? Now, in the upper left-hand corner, you see my son Sam about 2 or 3 years ago. My goodness, he's grown 2 heads since then. That is not drone soccer. You are not kicking the ball. He actually is not kicking if you look real close, but it does look like he's kicking the drone. That is not drone soccer, but I put it on there just to show you that he is actually in a drone soccer arena there. You see a drone soccer ball down in the lower left-hand corner from a STEM camp this summer that we were doing here in Demopolis. So you can see we were flying through hula hoops. The goals had not come in yet for that arena. But that is a crew concept drone there. The one that you see Sam up there with is a U.S. drone soccer ball. It's a drone inside of a cage. I'm sitting there in front of a Rocket Drones racing course that we had at AETC last summer up in the upper right-hand corner. And that's my daughter. I was going to give both my kids props here. That's my daughter in her gifted classroom. I did a team teaching thing with them. And so she's flying the drone, the Co-Drone EDU in her class. Now, I want to show you. These are a couple of fun ones, and I've got a couple of minutes. So, and what's it not work? Let's see. This is programming one of the Co-Drones to backflip and then land. That's just a neat little challenge that I was doing with some teachers in Tuscaloosa City. They got it as part of the middle school computer science grant last year or so. Then here's another one with another group. This is an A to B through an obstacle, and we're programming the drone to fly through the obstacle And I know I don't share my sound, so you're not hearing me. You're not hearing those. But let me see. As a matter of fact, I do need to share my sound because I want you to hear some of these other ones as I close out and answer questions. Move to the next slide. Nope, don't need that. Don't need. Okay, so I've got a few up here. Not sure why they are showing up. Not. I guess it's the slowness of the network. There's my silly kids there.
This is not what you're supposed to do with the drone soccer ball. Oh, no.
This was my son practicing for a drone soccer tournament, and didn't fly it well enough to bank it off. So it's one of my favorite ones. I want you to, let's see, what is this now? That's another one of those. Let's see.
The last 19 seconds.
Hang on. You can see what that looks like. That is actually a district qualifier. My son's playing with University Charter School against Jasper. He switched teams in the middle of the tournament. This was an exhibition match. But the one I want you to hear is the noise that these drones put off. This is a really good one here. And the object is to fly through the goal. Each team is flying. It's very much like Quidditch. And then here is...
Oh. I got you.
Apparently I had crashed, but this was... You can see the drone flying through there. And the guy that's flying that is flying it with FPV.
Clean the windshield on them.
So those are some things that you can see that we've done recently. There's my kids. They decided they were obstacle people at Mega a couple of years ago.
So they're not.
There we go. All right. So if you want to see drones in action, there are a couple of upcoming drone events. Mini Mega at UWA. It's sponsored by my friend Chet at the UWA Black Belt STEM Institute. There's the Power School thing. There's several vendors going to be there, and my friends at Rocket Drones are going to be there. So you'd have a chance to experience the Rocket drone, their classroom drone, and their FPV drone there. I think, I'm guessing he's still taking registrations. It's still open in Power School on February 28th. I think companies like Ed Farm and, oh gosh, that's the one I remember. I think Learning Blade is going to be there, and a couple of others, several of them that are STEM related here in Alabama. And then on March the 1st, this is tentative at the moment, but I think it's going to happen. Saturday, March the 1st, the U.S. Drone Soccer District Tournament, one of the district tournaments, is going to be at the Southern Museum of Flight in Birmingham. And if you are interested in going to that, and I know a lot of you are in the Birmingham area, shoot me an email and I'll tell you closer to the time as to how that's going to work. But if you want to go see a drone soccer tournament, unfortunately, I'm not going to make this one this year because of travel softball with my daughter. It'll be her first tournament that weekend. So I guess if it rains out, we might make it. So anyway, but those are a couple of upcoming ones. Okay, questions. I didn't leave a whole lot of time for questions. My bad for now. I left 3 minutes.
Not a problem, Robert. Excellent job as always. I'm surprised we didn't get an opportunity to see the World Games during that time when you were speaking about.
You know what? Let me see if you want to see World Games. I've got let me pull up another window and pull up the pictures if anybody wants to see.